Welcome back to another episode of the Hawks Nest podcast. Joined today by Myles Miller, outfielder for the Boise Hawks. Myles, glad to have you along. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Very excited to have you along. So my first question for you, being a native of Windsor, a lot of Hawks fans obviously grow up in the Treasure Valley around Boise or live in the States for most of their life. What's kind of the differences between growing up in Canada compared maybe to coming over to the States later on when you're a little bit more grown up?
So the main differences I would say would be weather for sure. It doesn't get this hot in the summer. I don't know really what the winters are like, but the winters in Canada aren't very nice. A lot of snow, and there's a lot of water by me. So in the summer it's just humid, and then the winter it's like a dry cold. So, and then the food, we don't have Chick-fil-A. We don't have Panda Express, so that's the main difference for me, really. And baseball quality, it's obviously better here, but
right, and that's kind of something that you have to deal with because growing up in Canada, for people who don't know, Windsor is basically right next to Detroit.
yeah. So when I would go to school, like in college, they'd be like, "Oh, where are you from in Canada?" And I'd show them on the map, and they'd be like, "Dude, you're American, pretty much." But yeah, it didn't take very long to get to a Tigers game.
Right.
But yeah.
So when you're playing in Canada or growing up in Canada playing youth sports, I mean, how much is your time spent when you're that close at least to trying to find maybe travel ball tournaments in the U.S. or do you try to stick predominantly in Canada? That way you don't have to worry about visas, passports, crossing the borders and whatnot.
So most of our tournaments, like when you get older, they're in the States to try to like get us like noticed and stuff like that because they not a lot of coaches come over and watch. So we would go to like tournaments in Michigan and Ohio because that was kind of like closer, and then sometimes in like March-ish, there'd be stuff in Florida that we'd travel down to.
And so how for you, when do you have to kind of decide that, because you played your college ball here in the States,
Mm-hmm.
how does that process go? I know you're a multi-sport athlete in high school, and you can share a little bit about that if you'd like and kind of say when you fell into baseball, but what is kind of the timeline to decide, hey, if I want to further my baseball career, I need to decide to come to the United States for the majority of my time?
So for me, when I was 16, like up until I was 16, I played hockey and baseball, and when I turned 16, I was like, okay, I'm probably not gonna go to the NHL, but I have more of a shot in baseball, and I always wanted to go to school in the States because I would play up a year or two in baseball, and I'd be with the older guys, and then they'd go away to school, and then they'd tell me about it, and they were getting noticed and like stuff like that. So that was always a goal of mine to want to go play in the States for college.
Very cool. And you went to a bunch of different colleges. What was the transfer process like? Because I know you started out in Tennessee, and then you moved. You had some struggles trying to kind of find a place to go to. I mean, what was that like?
So out of high school, I had a few offers. There was a few Division Ones, but obviously, like Division One baseball, it's not like Division One football. You don't get a full scholarship like at all. And I had a couple friends that were there at one of those schools, and he was way better than me. And as a freshman, like he wasn't playing at all, and he was on Team Canada. So I was like, okay, realistically, I think I should go to a JUCO, actually play for 2 years, and then try and go to a good school. So I went to Roane State Junior College in Tennessee for 2 years, and then after that, I went to Northwestern Ohio as an NAI. I stayed there I played the 1 year there, and then I just didn't really see myself being able to get to pro ball, like in terms of like scouts that would come out to watch position guys. So then I entered the transfer portal, went to summer ball, kind of just balled out and got more offers. And I graduated from the NAI, but the Division One schools that I was looking at transferring to were saying that I couldn't, like the credits wouldn't transfer. So I just kind of didn't really get to go there. So then I ended up going to a D2 in Oklahoma, Cameron University, uh, and then played there my last year.
And what, for people who maybe don't play baseball, there's a lot of good talent down in Naia D2,
Yeah,
D3.
and that was the thing too, is like our team was so good, and we had a bunch of guys that should have got a shot at least the draft, and even pitchers too. But I just don't really know why NAI, they kind of looked down on it so much. So it was nothing really against the school. It was just the way the situation was. Like, we had a guy the year before steal 37 bags, didn't get thrown out once, and he had 10 bombs, and he hit like 410, and he didn't get drafted as a junior.
And that was at...
And that was the year before me, and I knew that I wasn't going to steal 37 bags, and I wasn't going to hit 10 bombs, so I saw that, and I was like, well, realistically, I got to be somewhere, I guess, that the eyes are on you more.
Right.
But, yeah, I wish they would take NAI a little more seriously.
Yeah, that's...
Scouts from the professional perspective, but it worked out in the end, I guess.
That's that's pretty incredible to have those kind of numbers and not really
Yeah.
get any recognition. But you're beginning kind of your first season here in professional ball in Boise. Obviously, with the COVID pandemic, you got an opportunity to play a little bit in 2020, but
Yeah.
things going back to Canada, obviously, with visa issues, how were you able to kind of, when the borders are closed, get back into the States and be able to have this opportunity?
So, luckily for me, I'm a dual citizen, and that's so I have a U.S. passport and a Canadian passport. My dad's American, and mom's Canadian. So that was how I was able to play in the USPBL last summer. The border situation, though, that was just kind of a mess because it was always a bunch of questions like, where are you going? Why are you coming here? And then you show them the U.S. passport, and they're like, oh, okay, you're good. Because if I was only Canadian, it would have been really hard for them to, well, they just wouldn't have let me in. I wouldn't have got to play at all. So I just kind of lucked out. And then same thing with here. Obviously, the border now, at least crossing over from Canada to Detroit, that border's still closed unless you're an essential worker or dual citizen. So I just kind of lucked out, honestly.
Yeah, with both passports. And I know off the field you have some other interests. I know you're big anime guy.
Huge anime guy.
We talked about this.
Yeah.
So for the fans, you know, I mean, what kind of got you into anime, and what is what are your favorites, and how often do you get an opportunity to watch them with kind of the travel schedule, the professional schedule?
So I just grew up watching Dragon Ball Z. That was just, it's kind of like my show. Like, I'd get home from like whatever sport at night at like 7 or whatever when I was little, and it would just be on TV, and I just always watch it. So I've seen all the episodes from like the early 2000s up until the stuff now. And then I used to be like only Dragon Ball Z, and then when I got into college, I was like, hey, there's stuff other than Dragon Ball Z that's anime that's probably pretty cool. So then I started watching like Naruto, and now I watch like Black Clover. There's some stuff on Netflix. There's one called Megalobox. It's on Netflix. There's just so many. One Piece. You name it, I've probably seen it. But yeah, and like the little Yu-Gi-Oh! We talked about that before. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Like card games. I played that when I was younger too, and I got all the action figures of Dragon Ball Z, all those guys.
And it's funny too because anime's kind of come on strong, really, in the past couple of years. Because if you told someone maybe 6 or 7 years ago that you watched anime, they'd give you kind of a funny look.
Yeah, they're like, you're weird. No, but like it's honestly in sports. Like, I know like a ton of guys that I've played with. Like, they're like, dude, oh, you watch Dragon Ball Z? They're like, what's that tattoo in your arm? And I'm like, oh, it's a Dragon Ball. They're like, yeah, oh, I watch it too. So it's actually big in sports.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, there's just Gonzo likes Naruto.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw him watching it. I'm like, Puppy, Naruto? He's like, CC. So, yeah. It's pretty cool.
I haven't had a chance to ask him about that. But, yeah, like the youth movement in sports, a lot of the younger guys coming up, you know, they'll paint their cleats with anime stuff, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Naruto stuff, or they'll wear shirts and their pregame stuff. So it's really cool to see, like, how it's kind of blossomed.
Yeah, it is really cool.
And then my last question for you, Myles, is just, in your first season of professional baseball, what did you expect coming in? And here, as we're here still a little bit early in the season, what has been maybe unexpected or some new challenges that you've had to face compared to your time at college?
So coming in, I was just happy to be here, like to get on the roster. I was just really thankful Gary gave me a shot. And I'm just trying to make the most of it. And then the only unexpected challenges, honestly, was just like bus rides and like but even like I can sleep on the bus pretty well, but I just feel bad for the guys that are like 6'5". Because I can get away with it being like 6'1". I can kind of like curl up a little bit. But yeah, just the kind of leaving after the game, going all the way home. Like, it's not bad, but that's the hardest part, I would say. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a brand new experience.
Yeah, it's just brand new because, like, in the USPBO, we just it was all at one field. So it was like I'd drive from my host family 20 minutes to the field, 20 minutes home. And that was it. So now, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's cool getting to see a lot of stuff, though. Like, on the way in to Missoula, I was asleep. Bryce woke me up when we got to the hotel, so I didn't see much of the scenery. But it's nice, though, all the places we get to travel, though.
Yeah, we got a lot of long bus rides.
Yeah, so I'll be able to see a lot. So
Missoula, Billings, Grand Junction, Idaho Falls, Ogden. So, I mean, there's quite
Ogden
a lot.
was crazy when we got snowed out. That was ridiculous. I've never seen some stuff like that.
Yeah, the
And
hail.
the mountains are really cool, too.
Yeah, that view is incredible at
Yeah.
Lindquist Park. That's just insane. Well, Myles, I'd like to thank you for coming on and appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing this.